Alrighty, folks. We are going to take a look at how to do some rapid prototyping using React and EUI. There's going to be a couple of ways that I'm going to demonstrate how to do this. The first of which, though, is going to be with a tool called Create React App, which we will get installed and set up. And then we'll start building some components with EUI. So the first thing that we need to make sure that we have installed on our system, there's going to be a couple of prerequisites. The first one is going to be Homebrew. So if you're not familiar with Homebrew, it's essentially a package manager for Mac OS. You can install it with this script here. I'll provide all the links to this stuff in the video description. But you can install it with this link here. We're also going to need to have, or I would suggest at least, having NVM installed, which is a Node version manager. Essentially lets us run different versions of Node side by side without having to worry about uninstalling and reinstalling Node versions if you're working on Kibana or Prototype. And then the last thing you want to make sure you have on your system is Yarn, which you can install from here. Once you have Node installed, you can just run npm install -g yarn. So those are going to be the prerequisites. I'm not going to go through how to install all that stuff, but if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to myself or anybody on the EUI team, and they'd be happy to lend a hand. So once we get all that stuff installed, I have a directory on my computer that I just call prototypes, that I put all my prototypes in. And to spin up a new one today, we're going to use a command npx, which is essentially npm, but instead of installing the package that you need on your computer itself, it just pulls the scripts from npm's website. So we're going to run npx create react app and give your app a name. This instance, we'll call it my prototype. I can't type. And then we're going to give it a template flag of TypeScript. And once you get that, just hit return. And then that'll do its installation stuff. I already have it run, so I won't worry about that. But as soon as that finishes installing, you can cd into the directory. So cd into my prototype. And then we're going to open this up in code, my editor of choice. And once we get in here, you will have some config files and then a source directory, which is where we're going to be doing just about all of our work. You'll see an index.tsx file, which is going to be the entry point for your application. So our app is going to get rendered into this app container. We have an index.css file, which does some basic font overriding. We have an app.tsx file, which is where we're going to build our component. And then we have an app.css file as well. So if we, let's take a look at what we have here on the page. It looks like we have a logo. We've got a link to learn React and some paragraph text. We'll come in here to the terminal and we're going to run yarn start. It's going to fire up this for us in our development server, and it's going to open up a web browser for us automatically. There it is, little spinning logo and learn React. So hot reloading is enabled by default in here. So if we go to our code and we make a change to this, let's just go ahead and replace all of that with another div and just some paragraph text. Look. We save that, go back to our browser, there it is. Having reloaded, make another change, look again. It reloads before you can even get there. So that's basically that. So now let's go ahead and get EUI installed, and we'll actually start doing some stuff. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to stop my development server with Control-C in the terminal. And then over on EUI, which is one of these pages somewhere about, there we go. If you scroll down a bit, you'll see installation. There's a couple of peer dependencies that need to be installed alongside EUI as well. So we're going to copy this line of code, which is yarn add elastic EUI. It's also going to add date, math, moment, and prop types. So we'll just go ahead and paste that into our terminal in the directory of our prototype. which will install the things. And let's go ahead and fire that development server up again. Yarn start. Back on our code now, we're going to go to our index.tsx file and we're going to remove the reference to index.css and we're going to replace it with Elastic EUI. So Elastic EUI slash dist, and then we want I'm going to use Amsterdam Light, but I don't want the JSON file, I want the CSS file. So I'm just going to write that in manually. So if I save that, we'll probably see some changes pretty quick over there. But in our app.tsx file now, let's go ahead and remove the reference to the logo and to the app.css file. And let's import like an EUI panel, maybe. Import EUI panel from Elastic EUI. And let's change this div to EUI panel. And now, when that reloads, eventually, it's compiling. There we go. There's our EUI panel with our text inside of it. And then when we come back, we will take a look at building our first component. I will see you again in just a bit.